Welcome to the BettingPros PGA podcast. I'm Pat Fitzmaurice here with Bo McBrayer. It's Open Championship week. The final major of the 2025 golf season is upon us, and it promises to be a good one. We're excited to preview it and let you know who we're betting on this week and why. Before we get into our Open Championship betting preview, a very quick recap of last week's Scottish Open. Chris Gotterup wins the Scottish Open, finishing 15 under par. Quite the unexpected victory for Gotterup, his second on the PGA Tour, but a far more impressive win than his first, which was at last year's Myrtle Beach Classic. Gotterup got himself in position to contend with a 61 on Friday. He went into the final round tied for the lead with Rory McIlroy. Certainly the odds makers saw it as a David versus Goliath matchup entering Sunday's round. McIlroy's odds to win before the final round, minus 120. Gotterup's odds, plus 400. But Gotterup rose to the occasion, closed with the 66. And, when he bogeyed the opening hole Sunday, it seemed like he might go away. But Gotterup made 6 birdies in the final round. He birdied all 3 of the par 5s. Rory just couldn't get it going. He needed some birdies down the stretch and couldn't find them. He made no birdies and 9 pars on the back 9. Gotterup had quietly been playing some pretty solid golf this season, although there was little indication he was ready to win a tournament by, dispatching one of the best players in the world. Got 9 top 25 finishes going into the Scottish Open, but not a single top 10. He was ranked 158th in the world going into the Scottish Open. He's now up to 49th. Good to see Rory contend, even if he couldn't seal the deal. He appears ready for the Open Championship. Finishing in a tie for second with Rory was Englishman Marco Penge, who highlighted on the show last week as a long shot worth your attention. Matt Fitzpatrick was also in the hunt, but finished 3 shots back along with Nicolai Hojgaard. And it's worth noting that Scottie Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, and Ludwig Åberg all finished 9 under par, tying for 8th place. Good to see the big guns playing reasonably well heading into the Open. There was another PGA Tour event this past week, one on American soil. William Mao won the ISCO Championship in Kentucky, and he did it in pretty remarkable fashion. He was 7 shots off the lead going into the final round, but Mao shot a blistering 61 on Sunday at Hurstbourne Country Club, which had been playing really tough all week. Then Mao sat in the clubhouse with his lead and waited. Only Paul Peterson came close to catching Mao. Peterson needed a birdie on one of his last 2 holes to force a playoff. Couldn't get one, and Mao walked away with his first PGA Tour win. And Bo McBrayer had a nice little DFS score with his ISCO tournament, finishing second in a DraftKings affair. Well done, Bo. Give me your thoughts on that and on the Scottish Open.
The Scottish was great. Actually, Chris Gotterup was my last bet of the entire week. And it was only because on my other show, we do a hat pick at the very end of the show where we draw a number out of the hat. And whatever number that is, we go down to our model list and we pick which player is at that number. The first time ever, it was a top 5 number. So I went down to number 4 thinking it was going to be somebody like Xander. And Connor's other pick was Harry Hall. Well, Harry Hall was my number 3. So I looked down at number 4 on my model, and who sat there but Chris Gotterup. And I didn't even know what his odds were. And I had somehow just kind of put a star next to his name for DFS. That's what I was really looking for with Chris Gotterup. He was in my DFS lineup for the Scottish. And I ended up throwing 80-1 bet on him on Wednesday, just as a YOLO hat pick, number 4 in my model. Why not? And so I did win on Chris Gotterup. And I also had 2 names that I wrote down to bet on for the ISCO in Louisville. And one of them was William Mao. So, wow. And so I had Mao in my DFS lineup and in a 65-1 bet. And I had Gotterup at 80-1, and he was in my Scottish lineup, which also profited. So it's been a really hot 4-week stretch for me. I'm looking to run right into the Open Championship. But it's so far, the impressive part about Gotterup was that his ball striking's always been good, but what has held him back was his short game, his putting, namely. His short game's been better. All those top 25 finishes, he actually had 5 consecutive top 5 finishes, or top 25 finishes leading into the Scottish out of the 9, and no top 10s. They're like, oh, he's the next Tommy Fleetwood. And so it was interesting, because now he has 2 more PGA Tour victories than Tommy Fleetwood at this stage in his
Amazing.
career. Yeah, Goddard still in his early 20s. He was a very quick graduate of the Korn Ferry Tour. He won on his rookie season last year at the Myrtle Beach Classic. There's a lot more to come, especially if this guy finds a little bit more of a consistent putting stroke. But we've seen that his ball striking carries over to multiple types of venues, now winning a Birdie Fest and at the Scottish, where it was baked out and hot and it was dry. And you could tell that even Rory, with his distance and apex height, he was having trouble holding those greens. They were really, really fast and firm. And Goddard just seemed to be dialed in with his distance control off the fairway. And of course, he's out there launching the ball 350 yards, just like Rory. So the David versus Goliath narrative was pretty quickly snuffed out because Goddard's got game.
Yeah, and maybe it doesn't fit because Goddard is a big strapping lad. He's
a big boy. Yeah,
he looked more like a Goliath than a David. So
he's a big guy from Jersey.
Yes, he is, with a little bit of a lacrosse background, I understand too. Now we will get to the Open Championship preview in just a moment, right after Bo tells you about the BettingPros app.
Download the free BettingPros app for iOS and Android. With Sportsbook Sync, you can automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. Easily monitor your bet performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and parlays. Go ahead and create your own custom betting system to find winning trends and profitable opportunities. Get your own 7-day free trial of BettingPros Premium by downloading the app at bettingpros.com/apps using code JUICE and activating your trial on the upgrade screen.
Let's start digging into the Open Championship, and we'll start by talking about the venue. Royal Portrush in County Antrim, Northern Ireland. The course is located on the northern tip of Northern Ireland, right along the North Atlantic. Weather is going to be a huge factor this week. It certainly was in 2019 when we got a very wet, soggy Open Championship at Royal Portrush. That was when Irishman Shane Lowry hoisted the claret jug. Lowry just smoked the rest of the field that week. He was 15 under par. Tommy Fleetwood was second at 9 under par. Tony Finau, Brooks Koepka, and Lee Westwood rounded out the top 5. Westwood is back in the field this week, by the way. He earned his way in through qualifying. Only 29 players finished under par in 2019 at Royal Portrush. It's a par 71 that will play to 7,381 yards. Not brutally long, but the wind is going to make some holes play quite long. This is a links course, but it's links golf with a twist. On most of the courses in the Open Championship Rota, you can play bump and run shots into a lot of the greens and let the contours of the course feed the ball toward the hole. Royal Portrush has a bunch of elevated greens, so players are going to have to come in high on a lot of their approach shots, and obviously hitting high shots into a stiff winds, that's a challenge. A lot of the Open Championship courses have huge greens and tons of bunkers, which helps promote that bump and run play. Royal Portrush, smaller greens, fewer bunkers. A lot of these fescue-based greens are guarded by grassy mounds, and while there aren't a lot of bunkers, the ones awaiting players are rather punishing. Now, speaking of punishing, trouble awaits errant drives on this course. Gorse bushes will catch a lot of bad drives. There's tall fescue rough, and there are a number of spots where players can go out of bounds. Adding to the difficulty is the wind. Most of the holes face either southwest or northeast. The winds tend to come from the north or northwest, so players are often going to have to deal with crosswinds off the tee. As with most open courses, Royal Portrush has all sorts of bumps and hollows in the fairway. Players are going to hit a lot of shots off uneven lies, and it's imperative that you get off to a good start at Royal Portrush. Everyone goes off the first tee. No one starts at number 10. There's no need to split the tee times. As you see in the U.S. Open or PGA, since the UK gets so many hours of sunlight this time of year.
Yeah.
Now, the first
because on links courses, 10th hole's way off in the distance. It's not back at the clubhouse.
Good point, generally. Although this is not a classic 9 holes out, 9 holes back type of layout. This one kind of arcs around a little bit. But the first 5 holes are pretty easy relative to the rest of the course. Holes 2, 3, and 5 offer some of the best birdie opportunities anywhere at Royal Portrush. Shane Lowry played the first 5 holes at 9 under par when he won here in 2019. The last 5 holes, on the other hand, are pretty brutal. Play the closing 5 holes at even par, and you should be very pleased. The toughest hole on the closing stretch is the par 3 16th, known as Calamity Corner. It's 236 yards, and there's a steep drop off up the right side of the hole. If you miss right, saving par
Dead.
becomes almost impossible. Yeah,
It's
and
what they call dead.
yeah, you're shooting just dead uphill, blindly into the green. Hard to get it close. The green and regulation percentage on the 16th hole in 2019 under 50%.
41%. 41.
41, so not even close to 50%. Another hole worth highlighting is the par 5 7th. This is one of the newer holes at Royal Portrush. They added a few ahead of the 2019 Open. Number 7 is a 670-yard par 5. There's an elevated tee shot that requires players to navigate a pair of fairway bunkers on either side. You can reach this hole into with a good drive and a cooperative wind, but this is one of the only holes at Royal Portrush that usually plays into the wind, and the layup area is really small, and it includes a nasty bunker that players are going to have to try to avoid. So Xander Schauffele is the defending championship golfer of the year. He won at Royal Troon last year. Let's talk about the weather forecast for the Open Championship. There's rain in the forecast for all 4 rounds. Hopefully not a pouring rain and a persistent rain. With luck, we'll have some more dry periods than we had in 2019. Wind is not expected to be too gusty, 10 to 15 miles per hour on Thursday and Sunday, 5 to 10 on Friday and Saturday. That would make it very playable, but forecasting the conditions along the Northern Ireland coast is probably a fool's errand. Brief squalls are always a possibility. Seems as if driving accuracy and scrambling are going to be especially important this week, Bo. There's a lot to unpack. What say you about Royal Portrush?
I just love how it's not a traditional links, but it's got enough of those elements to make it a real fun taste of Irish golf, like Northern Ireland. Apparently, my ancestors came from that County Antrim in Northern Ireland from by way of Scotland when they immigrated to America. So the sacred ground is also in Northern Ireland. It's pretty cool because this course is tough in a different way that rota courses are tough. Like you said, usually you're dealing with really fast runouts on the fairways, and then the bumpy greens are gigantic, even double greens on some of the rota courses. This course has small greens. It's more like Pebble Beach with gorse bushes than it is like St. Andrews, for example. It's like the opposite of St. Andrews, where you have to be off the tee accurate, but you also have to be very precise with your irons, especially in that 150 to 200 range. It's going to be really challenging if those squalls do pop up, which is very possible. You said it's a fool's errand. I don't think they employ any meteorologists in that neck of the woods because it's just pointless. Like your forecast might change 3 times per hour. And it's just, you can say, oh yeah, on Thursday it's going to be 10 to 15 mile an hour gusts and wind and rain here and there, but you just never know. A lot like the Scottish last week where you had dry weather, but you just never know when those squalls are going to pop up, especially along the North Atlantic there. This is going to be fun because it's going to challenge the whole bag, not just scrambling. It's going to be off the tee. It's going to be approach. It's going to be, of course, the short game around the greens. It's also going to be more of your bogey avoidance than your 3-putt avoidance. Like last week in a normal rota course, you really have to focus on 3-putt avoidance because the greens are massive and your lag putting really matters. Here it's going to be, okay, how did you hit the fairway, A, and B, were you in position to actually make a go at some of these pin placements on these smaller greens? And if it doesn't rain very much, these little greens are still going to have a lot of bounce to them. They're not going to have a lot of receptiveness, and they're still going to putt slow and bumpy because they're fescue. So it's still going to be a challenge, a little bit of carnage, especially if that wind picks up a little bit more than it's forecasted. I think the rain is pretty much to be expected. You're going to get moisture this week in Northern Ireland. That's what happens in the summertime. I love this golf course. It's gorgeous on TV. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's one of the places I'd really much like to visit. Maybe I can scrounge up some extra McBrayers across the pond and meet them. But for this week, I'll be watching on TV, and it'll be exciting to see who comes out on top as champion golfer of the year. Will it be a favorite or will it be somebody out of left field?
Yeah, let's get into some of the conversation about the players. We will break down the Open Championship odds in just a moment. But first,
are you looking for a smarter way to play? There's a new sports trading platform that's changing the game. It's called NoVig. It's legal in most states, including Georgia, California, and Texas. It's peer-to-peer, which means you're competing against other users, not the house. You can often get better lines than traditional books. You can set your own lines, which gives you control most sports books just don't offer. There are no commissions or hidden fees. Seriously. It uses a coin deposit system, but it is real money. And you can use code DailyJuice for 50% off your first coin purchase up to $25. Check it out now at bettingpros.com/juice. That's bettingpros.com/juice. Our colleague Mike Mayer is on it every day. He's a NoVig fanatic, freak. He loves dropping screenshots, pics. It's all going in the Discord. If you have questions, he's happy to help. Betting Pros Mike Mayer, your NoVig fanatic expert, self-proclaimed.
Let's run through some of the odds for the Open Championship. All odds are courtesy of DraftKings as of Monday afternoon. Scottie Scheffler is the favorite at plus 450. Rory McIlroy is plus 700. Jon Rahm is plus 1,200. Bryson DeChambeau plus 2,000. Xander Schauffele plus 2,500. Colin Morikawa, Tommy Fleetwood, and Ludwig Oberg are plus 2,800. Viktor Hovland, Tyrell Hatton, and Shane Lowry are plus 3,000. Robert MacIntyre plus 3,500. And then a big group before we get to, then a big gap, I should say, before we get to Sepp Straka, Justin Thomas, and Joaquin Niemann at plus 5,000. Which of the favorites are you interested in, Bo?
Well, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, just bet Scottie Scheffler since he's not getting plus 275 odds this week." Scottie Scheffler does not putt well on links courses. Very simple. Fescue greens, he looked bedeviled last week. He was number 1 in ball striking, number 118 in putting. There's something about these greens, these fescue greens, where they are bumpy, they're irregular, and they putt slow. He cannot read them. It's like he's trying to read Braille and he's not taking any classes. And so until we see Scottie Scheffler actually putt on fescue greens well, I'm not touching him, not even close. He's completely off my board. I'm not playing him at all. And if he wins, you can blame me for cursing and teaching him how to read the Braille bumpy fescue greens. But I'm starting my card at Rory McIlroy. Yes, he missed the cut here in 2019, but that was because he pulled off what's very few. It's called the Fitzmaurice special. Pat Fitzmaurice made this famous. He had a double bogey, a triple bogey, and a quad bogey in the same round of golf. In his first round at Royal Portrush in 2019, shot a 79. He ended up shooting a second round 65 and missed the cut by 1 shot. This is his home game. He's from Hollywood in the county down next door. This is Rory McIlroy's to win. I think he wins handily going away. I think he wins by 4 or 5 shots, to be honest. He's going to pull off the Shane Lowry special where he wins by 6. I think Rory McIlroy is the player to beat, and I don't think it's going to be relatively close. That's where I'm starting my card at plus 750, plus 700, depending on where you're getting it. That's where I'm going. It's really hard to get off of that number, but then you go and you look at Xander Schauffele, who's the most strokes gained on links courses of anybody over the last 2.5, 3 years. If you include the Scottish and all the Open Championships, Xander Schauffele by far the gains most strokes from tee to green and on the greens, and he's at plus 2,500. That is an amazing deal. An amazing deal. The best deal ever for the champion golfer of the year to go back to back at 2 different golf courses. He fits this course like a glove. I can't believe he's at 25-1. And then Shane Lowry, your former winner at the 2019 guy at Royal Portrush, he's at 30-1. Where are these odds coming from? Scottie Scheffler getting all the respect that he does not deserve on this type of golf course. And you got Rory, who should win, Xander and Lowry getting crazy odds. I think I'll just wrap it up right there. The top tier are Rory, Xander, Shane Lowry, and don't overthink it.
We are normally pretty much on the same page with a lot of our takes on this.
Not this week, huh?
Not this week. I think we're pretty diametrically opposed here. I think Scottie could be a value at plus 450. He's long and straight off the tee. His iron play is magnificent, and I believe he ranks second on tour in scrambling. Which is going to be key. I understand what you're saying about fescue greens. He does look vexed by them at times, but I will trust in Scottie to be able to overcome that and have a lot of short makeable putts this week. So I'm actually on
Yeah.
Scottie this
Yeah.
week. And as for
If
Rory,
he's right, he won't need to scramble.
that's right. That's a good point. And I know Rory is he's a native son. He's coming off a tie for second at the Scottish, and was sixth in his last event before that, the Travelers. But Bo, it seems like Rory often disappoints when expectations for him are at their highest. He missed the
Except for at
cut,
Augusta a couple months ago.
except at Augusta, but then again, it had gotten to the point where Rory was seen as such a perennial non-contender at the Masters that I think he didn't have the same sort of pressure that he carried earlier in his career. Um, they've had the Open at Royal Championship or at Royal Portrush before, and Rory missed the cut. And even though his game seems pretty well suited to Royal Portrush, I'm staying away this week. I'm not feeling it. And
All right.
it's a little vibes based, but and with Xander, like he's played in a dozen events this season. His best finishes are a pair of ties for eighth. One in the Masters, one of the Scottish Open last week. I know he is the defending championship golfer of the year, does play really well at links courses, but I am a little concerned that he ranks 166th in scrambling out of 177 players. He has not been good around the greens this week. Colin Morikawa and Ludwig Oberg haven't exactly been scrambling aces this season either. So they worry me a little bit. I feel like that is going to be such a key component this week. I'm not sure I can back Xander.
That's
Now,
fair.
a couple other guys I want to just guys I'm totally eliminating from consideration. Bryson DeChambeau. I don't think his approach off the tee is going to work at Royal Portrush, although I thought the same thing about Bryson when he won the U.S. Open at Winged Foot. Tommy Fleetwood, yes, he contended here in 2019 and is often in the hunt, but he just doesn't win. Viktor Hovland, scrambling is just so critical this week, and it's the worst part of Hovland's game. And Justin Thomas, just way too errant with the driver this year. I don't think we can factor.
I'm with you on all the DQs, the disqualifiers. I'm with you in lockstep on those. Other than Xander, I feel like Xander's finally rounding into it at the right time. But yeah, the the guys you mentioned as a no-go, I'm with you on those.
Yeah. Now, Tyrell Hatton is kind of interesting. He finished sixth at Royal Portrush in 2019. He was very much in the hunt at the U.S. Open last month. He's good in windy conditions. He's worth paying attention to. Robert MacIntyre was sixth at Royal Portrush in 2019 and had been playing very well up until the Scottish Open. He had that near victory in the U.S. Open where it took a J.J. Spaun miracle to beat him. It was strange to see MacIntyre stub his toe in his home country last week at the Scottish Open. He finished tied for 65th. Makes me wonder if maybe we get a strong bounce back from a very motivated Bobby MacIntyre this week. He very much interests me. What about Jon Rahm? So dating back to last April, Rahm has finished no worse than 11th in any of his last 7 Live Tour events and majors, although he hasn't won any of them. Do you think Royal Portrush suits his game?
It does. I worry about his approach game's been a little lackluster, and his driving is so good that he might just be a more aggressive option than Scottie Scheffler. I like Scheffler a lot. I just don't like him at his odds. Getting a discount on a similar style player like Jon Rahm with a little bit better power in his game, which will play here. Having shorter approaches that you can kind of control spin on, that's going to be important this week. So Jon Rahm is definitely on my radar. I just don't know if I want to bet on him with the odds I'm getting on the other guys in the top tier. But I'm not saying that's a bad pick at all. I just think his numbers kind of on the break even point for me, where I'm not seeing a lot of edge there.
Any interest in Sepp Straka? A lot of people seem to be on him this week.
No, because we're over 7,300 yards. Straka just does not compete on longer courses than average. He's very, very good on shorter courses. I just think his short game is awful. Like chipping, he's good at scrambling when he gets into trouble, but his approach game is good. I just don't think that if he gets out of position, that Sepp Straka can save par enough. But if it's a shorter golf course where he's flipping wedges in all the greens, then yeah, for sure. But this isn't that course. This isn't that event. Sepp Straka hasn't proven it yet in a major, and I'm not going that far yet.
Yeah, good call. And you seem to have a pretty good read on him this season. Let's look at more of the odds. We've got Brooks Koepka, Patrick Cantlay, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Jordan Spieth at plus 5,500. Russell Henley is plus 6,500. Corey Connors and Justin Rose are plus 7,500. Cameron Young, Adam Scott, Sam Burns, Hideki Matsuyama, and Patrick Reed are plus 8,000. And Chris Gotterup, Ryan Fox, Ben Griffin, and Jason Day are plus 9,000. What about these mid-range options?
These mid-range options are fun, but the numbers don't really make a lot of sense for me. I like Russell Henley here because, again, this is a great links player. Really likes to use his creativity around the greens. He's a really clutch putter and a really good approach game from that 150 to 200 range. That's going to be important. Henley is a really good pick here. 65-1 is insane for how good he's playing this season. So I think I will agree with you on him. And then Patrick Reed is really hard to ignore 80-1. There's a couple of guys here at 80-1 that I really like on other golf courses, but Patrick Reed with his short game, as nails as it is, coming off a win last week on Live, this guy is so talented. Nobody can stand him. He's got one of the worst personalities in golf. He likes to sue people and block everybody on social media. He's soft as Charmin, but the guy can play golf. The guy can play. He has an atrocious Starbucks order. Still great at golf. And in majors, he seems to rise to the occasion. I think Patrick Reed might be the pick I have at 80-1, even though there's a lot of big names that are getting a lot of attention this week at 80-1 and 90-1. I'll have my feelers out for Ben Griffin too at 90-1.
Yeah, Reed was 10th at Royal Portrush 6 years ago. Doesn't have a great track record in Open Championships, but his best ever finish, Royal Portrush. I love Henley Bo, and there seems to be this weird correlation between success at the Cognizant Classic, formerly known as the Honda Classic, and success at the Open Championship.
Yeah,
A
and
lot of
that's going to make me talk about Straka more. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Straka is a guy who's done well in that tournament. A lot of the guys who fared well at Royal Portrush in 2019 have good track records at the Cognizant Classic, and Russell Henley is definitely one of them. He's won that event. He's finished third in that event. I think he's got another top 10 in that event. And Henley, 14th in driving accuracy, 15th strokes gained and approach, 6th in strokes gained around the green. I really like him this week.
He's a solid pick, and the odds are perfect for him. 65-1 is.
Yeah. Now, Brooks Koepka has not played well at all on the Live Tour this season, but Koepka is just a different guy in majors. He was 4th at Royal Portrush back in 2019, his best ever finish in an Open Championship. And Bo, we have to talk about Jordan Spieth at the Open Championship. Great track record. I think we do. I mean, he won at Royal Birkdale in 2017, runner-up at Royal St. George's in 2021. He's had 3 other top 10s, tied for 20th at Royal Portrush 6 years ago. Spieth has been out with a neck injury for the last month, but maybe it was more than just a neck injury. Spieth has announced that his wife recently gave birth to their 3rd child. I kind of like the idea of betting a fresh, happy Jordan Spieth this week.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. He is famously can't find the fairway with the map, and if you miss the fairways here, you're done.
Yeah, I think it's going to hurt him more here than it will on some other courses. All right, what about long shots, Bo? Anyone at 100-1 odds or longer worth a flyer?
Oh, I got him.
Of course.
First one, Harry Hall again. We're looking at 110-1 for Harry Hall at the Open Championship. Wizard with the short game, great putter. His ball striking has been much improved this season, especially off the tee where he has struggled in the past. He's been a lot better. A really solid iron player. And then we're getting 170-1 on Akshay Bhatia, another Cognizant Classic guy that it just seems like if you're talking about 150-yard approach shots, and his off the tee game has been so much improved. His putting has gone from 100+ ranking in the world to top 20 in putting. Akshay Bhatia at 170-1 makes no sense to me. Marco Penge, we just saw him last week compete at the Scottish, very nearly won that tournament, ran out of birdies at the end thanks to Chris Gotterup just keeping the pedal down. Marco Penge is a real player, and he lashes it out there, 190 ball speed. He's one of those big hitters that can take advantage of a golf course, a la Rory McIlroy. And then finally, 200 to 1, I have Jordan L. Smith, the Englishman, outstanding player on the DP World Tour. To get this quality of a golfer who's won multiple events on the DP World Tour in the last couple of years at 200 to 1 at the Open Championship, are you kidding me? Jordan L. Smith, 200 to 1. And I'm going to be pretty aggressive about that one. I was ecstatic to see his name down there.
I'm going to mention 5 long shots. Tom McKibbin is 150 to 1, native of Northern Ireland, has finished top 5 in his last 2 Live Tour events. Tom Kim, 150 to 1, having a poor season, no question, but he seems to have a thing for links style courses.
He does.
He was second at Hoylake in 2023. He was 17th at the Scottish Open last week. Yeah, for some reason, links golf brings out the best in Tom Kim. Nicolai Hojgaard, 150 to 1. That is quite a player for odds that long. He finished 4th at the Scottish Open last week. The only problem is that Hojgaard does spray it off the tee. I think he's like 168th in driving accuracy. That could be a big issue. Englishman Daniel Brown won the BMW Invitational Open on the DP World Tour 2 weeks ago, tied for 10th last year at Royal Troon in his Open Championship debut. He is 300 to 1. And maybe my favorite dart throw bow, Kristoffer Reitan of Norway. He is 350 to 1. He won a DP World Tour event in late May. He has 4 top 5 finishes and 6 top 15 finishes in his last 9 DP World Tour events. He has been hot. And to get a guy that hot at 350 to 1, sign me up. All right, Bo, who's on your early betting card?
So I have some guy named Rory McIlroy, Northern Irishman. Xander Schauffele, 25 to 1. Shane Lowry, 30 to 1. Russell Henley, 65 to 1. Patrick Reed, 80 to 1. And then I got Ben Griffin, 90 to 1. Harry Hall, 110 to 1. Akshay Bhatia, 170 to 1. Marco Penge, 180 to 1. And Jordan L. Smith, 200 to 1.
Yeah, I'm betting Scottie at plus 450. And, when I bet Scottie, I like to keep the rest of the card paired down a little bit. So it's going to be Scottie along with Robert MacIntyre at plus 350, Russell Henley at plus 3,500 for Robert MacIntyre, plus 6,500 for Russell Henley. Then I'm going to go with Tom Kim at 150 to 1, Daniel Brown at 300 to 1, and Kristoffer Reitan at 350 to 1. Now, before we get to our one and done picks, we do have another event on the PGA Tour this week. It's a US based tournament. They always have on the week of the Open Championships, and so few Americans automatically qualify for the Open. This week, it's the Barracuda Championship at the Tahoe Mountain Club in Truckee, California, your neck of the woods, Bo.
I'll be there.
Barracuda is the only PGA Tour event that uses the modified Stableford scoring system where players get points for birdies and eagles and lose points for bogeys and worse. Bo, NorCal native Kurt Kitayama is the Barracuda favorite at 20 to 1. I threw a couple bucks on Max Homa at 25 to 1, and I bet exactly $1 on Cristobal del Solar at 250 to 1. Do you have any favorite bets for this year's Barracuda?
I will be boots on the ground. Shout out NorCal. The Barracuda is really fun. That golf course up there in Truckee is gorgeous, and it's at elevation. I think Kurt Kitayama with his distance off the tee is going to be really hard to beat. 20 to 1 favorite. I'll take that all day. And then I am also betting on your guy, Ryo Hisatsune from Japan. Great ball striker, another good hitter. Hayden Springer somehow 75 to 1 in this field. Whew, that's amazing value. And then I'm also going to back you up on Cristobal del Solar. He's Chilean, and 250 to 1 is too good for how well he's playing this year.
Now for our one and done picks, I took Robert MacIntyre last week. He was very disappointing, tying for 65th. That was good for only $19,800. Bo had Tommy Fleetwood, who tied for 34th, good for $52,950. Disappointing weeks from our 2 Europeans in the Scottish Open. You are up first at the Open Championship, Bo. Hit me.
I've been saving Rory McIlroy for this exact moment, and I'm using him.
Bringing out Rory in Northern Ireland, I am going to try to go game theory optional here using a Live Tour player with one of my few opportunities. I'm going to take Tyrell Hatton. He's short. He's cut low to the ground for windy conditions. That's all for this week's Betting Pros PGA podcast. Please come join us again next week when we will be previewing the 3M Open in Minnesota. Until then, so long, everyone.